Tiffany, hey girl, hey. Salubona. Salubona, Shayla, great risings. Putting all my stuff up here. Greetings. Greetings. Oh, it's gonna be good today, y'all. It's gonna be so good today. Okay. Good morning, Lavon. All right, now. Make sure this is here. I'm gonna bring up the shimmer. So just gotta adjust this. You know what, y'all? I'm gonna get 2 screens. That's what I'm gonna do. Cause all my shenanigans in the morning with making these screens the appropriate size so I can see them both at the same time sometimes becomes a bit much. My screen not big enough, so I'm gonna need to go to. I'm gonna have to get me some a better setup here. But I'm gonna work with this for a little while. Eventually, I'm gonna transition this. Good morning, Dana. Thank you, kid. Thank you. Eventually, I'm gonna transition this to a whole little nice little setup. And get a different background and everything. Hold on. Okay, let's bring up the shimmer. Okay. All right, beautiful people. Guys, we had another Friday. Let's look. It still look like. Look. If you look outside right now, remember how I talk about the evening periods? Like if you look outside now, this is really good that I just happened. I was about to talk about this. It's still kind of dark. So if it was a day, even the street lights are on, right? So if we didn't know that this was morning time, and if we were just thrown into a place or walk outside discombobulated, and we walk outside when it looks like this, we would not be sure if it was the morning evening time or the evening time that's going into darkness. You know, the street lights are still on. I mean, if you have street lights, whatever. But if you are in any one of those evening periods before light begins or after evening, after the daytime ends, you would not be quite sure until you wait a little while and see the progression of the day. You know, either it's going to get gradually lighter, and then you know, oh, we're at the beginning of the day, or it gets gradually darker. Thereby, we know we're at the end of the day, going into the darkness of the night, right? Okay, I just wanted to say that. But if you look out, that's evening, right? Okay, and the evening and the morning were the first day. The day is encapsulated by evening periods to separate it from the night. That's the separation that Yahuwah was talking about. He needs to separate the light from the darkness, and the light is capped off on both ends by evening periods. So, all right, I'm done. Let's do the Shema. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. Alicia, top of the day. The Twabu sister. All right, y'all. It is Friday, March the 19th, 2021, day 106 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 775. And that is without the Sabbath days or the Sabbath feast, the feast days, Sabbath days added into the count. All right, y'all. Today we start in the book of Samuel. Well, 1 Samuel, mind you. So we're reading 1 Samuel 1, 2, and 3. So let's get started here. All right, y'all. There was a man named Elkanah who lived in Ramah in the region of Zuph in the hill country of Ephraim. He was the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, son of Zuph of Ephraim. Elkanah had 2 wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. Remember, we just read about them the other day, right? In the Legends of the Jews. So we passed this part a little bit. Each year, Elkanah would travel to Shiloh to worship and sacrifice Yahuwah, the Lord of Heaven's armies, at the tabernacle. The priests of Yahuwah at that time were the sons of Eli, Hophni, and Phinehas. On the days Elkanah presented his sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to to Peninnah and each of her children. And though he loved Hannah, he would give her only one choice portion, because Yahuwah had given her no children. So Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because Yahuwah had kept her from having children. Year after year, it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. So remember, in the Legends of the Jews, it actually told us some of what she was saying. She said, "Dost thou meanest not to rise and bathe thy children?" You know, pissing Hannah off, right? So we would have been fighting up in there. Like, first of all, my G, you should only be married to one of us. Look, okay, let me go ahead. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. "Why are you crying, Hannah?" Elkanah would ask. "Why aren't you eating? Why be downhearted just because you have no children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons? Once, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli, the priest, was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to Yahuwah. And she made this vow: "O Lord of heaven's armies, if you would look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to Yahuwah, his hair will never be cut." So what do we know that is a sign of, right? It's a sign of being a Nazarite. So Samson was a Nazarite. Samuel was a Nazarite. Matter of fact, their mothers were also Nazarites, because if you're dedicating your child to Yahuwah, you yourself must become a Nazarite in order not to contaminate them while they are in the womb, right? Okay, so they will be thoroughly through and through a Nazarite. As she was praying to Yahuwah, Eli watched her, seeing her lips move, but hearing no sound. He thought she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your wine." "Oh, no, sir," she replied. "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to Yahuwah. Don't think that I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow." "In that case," Eli said, "go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request you have asked of him." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed. Then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship Yahuwah once more. Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, Yahuwah remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, "I asked Yahuwah for him." The next year, Elkanah and his family went on their annual trip to offer a sacrifice to Yahuwah to keep his vow, but Hannah did not go. She told her husband, "Wait until the boy is weaned. Then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with Yahuwah permanently." "Whatever you think is best," Elkanah agreed. "Stay here for now, and may Yahuwah help you keep your promise." So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. When the child was weaned, Hannah took him to the tabernacle in Shiloh. They brought a 3-year-old bull for the sacrifice and a basket of flour and some wine. After sacrificing the bull, they brought the boy to Eli. "Sir, do you remember me?" Hannah asked. "I am the very woman who stood here several years ago praying to Yahuwah. I asked Yahuwah to give me this boy, and he has granted my request. Now I am giving him to Yahuwah, and he will belong to Yahuwah his whole life." And they worshiped Yahuwah there. Morning. Joy risings. Peace and blessings. 1 Samuel chapter 2. Then Hannah prayed, "My heart rejoices in Yahuwah. Yahuwah has made me strong. Now I have an answer for my enemies. I rejoice because you rescued me. No one is holy like Yahuwah. There is none beside you. There is no rock like our God. Stop acting so proud and haughty. Don't speak with such arrogance. For Yahuwah is a God who knows what you have done. He will judge your actions. The bow of the mighty is broken, and those who stumbled are now strong. Those who were well-fed are now starving, and those who were starving are now full. The childless woman now has 7 children, and the woman with many children wastes away. Yahuwah gives both death and life. He brings some down to the grave, but raises others up. Yahuwah makes some poor and others rich. He brings some down and lifts others up. He lifts the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump. He sets them among princes, placing them in seats of honor. For all the earth is Yahuwah's, and he has set the world in order. He will protect his faithful ones, but the wicked will disappear in darkness. No one will succeed by strength alone. Those who fight against Yahuwah will be shattered. He thunders against them from heaven. Yahuwah judges throughout the earth. He gives power to his king. He increases the strength of his anointed one. Then Elkanah returned home to Ramah without Samuel, and the boy served Yahuwah by assisting Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli were scoundrels who had no respect for Yahuwah or for their duties as priests. Whenever anyone offered a sacrifice, Eli's sons would send over a servant with a 3-pronged fork. While the meat of the sacrificed animal was still boiling, the servant would stick the fork into the pot and demand whatever it brought up be given to Eli's sons. All the Israelites who came to worship at Shiloh were treated this way. Sometimes the servant would even come before the animal's fat had been burned on the altar. He would demand raw meat before it had been boiled so that it could be used for roasting. The man offering the sacrifice might reply, "Take as much as you want, but the fat must be burned first." The servant would demand, "No, give it to me now, or I'll take it by force." So the sin of these young men was very serious in Yahuwah's sight, for they treated Yahuwah's offerings with contempt. But Samuel, though he was only a boy, served Yahuwah. He wore a linen garment like that of a priest. Each year his mother made a small coat for him and brought it to him when she came with her husband for the sacrifice. Before they returned home, Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, "May Yahuwah give you other children to take the place of the one she gave to Yahuwah." And Yahuwah blessed Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, Samuel grew up in the presence of Yahuwah. Now Eli was very old, but he was aware of what his sons were doing to the people of Israel. He knew, for instance, that his sons were seducing the young women who assisted at the entrance of the tabernacle. And Eli said to them, "I have been hearing reports from all the people about the wicked things you are doing. Why do you keep sinning? You must stop, my sons. The reports I hear among Yahuwah's people are not good. If someone sins against another person, Yahuwah can mediate for the guilty party. But if someone sins against Yahuwah, who can intercede?" But Eli's sons wouldn't listen to their father, for Yahuwah was already planning to put them to death. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew taller and grew in favor with Yahuwah and with the people. One day, the man of God came to Eli and gave him this message from Yahuwah. I revealed myself to your ancestors when they were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt. I chose your ancestor Aaron from among all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer sacrifices on my altar, to burn incense, and to wear the priestly vest as he served me. And I assigned the sacrificial offerings to you priests. So why do you scorn my sacrifices and offerings? Why do you give your sons more honor than you give me? For you and they have become fat from the best of the offerings of my people Israel. Therefore, Yahuwah, the God of Israel, says, I promise that your branch of the tribe of Levi would always be my priest, but I will honor those who honor me, and I will despise those who think lightly of me. The time is coming when I will put an end to your family, so it will no longer serve as my priest. All the members of your family will die before their time. No one will reach old age. You will watch with envy as I pour out my prosperity on the people of Israel, but no members of your family will ever live out their days. The few not cut off from serving at my altar will survive, but only so their eyes can go blind and their hearts break, and their children will die a violent death. And to prove what I have said will come true, I will cause your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, to die on the same day. Sheesh. Then I will raise up a faithful priest who will serve me and do what I desire. I will establish his family, and they will be my priests to my anointed kings forever. Then all of your surviving family will bow before him, begging for money and food. Please, they will say, give us jobs among the priests so we will have enough to eat. Last chapter for today is 2 Samuel. I keep saying 2 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 3. Good morning, Rosina. 1 Samuel chapter 3. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel served Yahuwah by assisting Eli. Now in those days, messages from Yahuwah were very rare, and visions were quite uncommon. One night, Eli, who was almost blind by now, had gone to bed. The lamp of Yahuwah had not yet gone out, and Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of Yahuwah. Suddenly, Yahuwah called out, Samuel. Yes, Samuel replied. What is it? He got up and ran to Eli. Here I am. Did you call me? I didn't call you, Eli replied. Go back to bed. So he did. Then Yahuwah called out again, Samuel. Again, Samuel got up and went to Eli. Here I am. Did you call me? I didn't call you, my son, Eli said. Go back to bed. Samuel did not yet know Yahuwah because he had never had a message from Yahuwah before. So Yahuwah called a third time, and once more Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am. Did you call me? Then Eli realized it was Yahuwah who was calling the boy. So he said to Samuel, Go lay down again, and if someone calls you again, say, Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. So Samuel went back to bed, and Yahuwah came and called as before, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel replied, Speak, your servant is listening. Then Yahuwah said to Samuel, I am about to do a shocking thing in Israel. I am going to carry out all my threats against Eli and his family from beginning to end. I have warned him that judgment is coming upon his family forever because his sons are blaspheming God, and he has not disciplined them. So I have vowed that the sins of Eli and his sons will never be forgiven by sacrifices or offerings. Samuel stayed in bed until morning. Then he got up and opened the doors of the tabernacle as usual. He was afraid to tell Eli what Yahuwah had said to him, but Eli called out to him, Samuel, my son. Here I am, Samuel replied. What did the Lord say to you? Tell me everything, and may Yahuwah strike you and even kill you if you hide anything from me. So Samuel told Eli everything. He didn't hold anything back. It is Yahuwah's will, Eli replied. Let him do what he thinks is best. As Samuel grew up, Yahuwah was with him, and everything Samuel said proved to be reliable. And all Israel, from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, knew that Samuel was confirmed as a prophet of Yahuwah. Yahuwah continued to appear at Shiloh and gave messages to Samuel there at the tabernacle. Trina, hey girl, hey, that's Wabu. At least you made it, Trina. Look, I ain't taking roll who's showing up and who not. I know some people apologize because they're like, I ain't taking roll, y'all. Y'all can show up if y'all have the time. It's not mandatory. If y'all want to hang out, come hang out. I'll do this if nobody showed up. Matter of fact, I've done it on days where nobody was here, but I keep on reading like people are listening. All right, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on over to the Legends of the Jews. We are in chapter 5, y'all, volume 4, and we are now at we're at page 423 if you got the same book. I know y'all probably putting markers in your book or folding the page or something, but just in case somebody's not. We're on page 423 if you have the bigger book like I have, but if it's the smaller book with different page numbers because the pages, you know, it's numbered different because the pages are smaller, then it's volume 4, chapter 5, the subsection, his wisdom, right? We're reading about Solomon. All right, this little section, it's a little long. It's not that long, but it is a little long, but it's good, y'all. So let's go. We at 22 minutes. Ooh, I got time to probably get through all of this today. I'm so excited. Okay. Listen. But Solomon's wealth and pomp were as naught in comparison with his wisdom. When Yahuwah appeared to him in Gibeon in a dream by night, he gave him leave to ask what he would, a grace accorded to none besides except King Ahaz of Judah, and promised only to the Messiah in the time to come. Solomon chose wisdom, knowing that wisdom Solomon chose wisdom, knowing that wisdom once in his possession, all else would come of itself. His wisdom, the scriptures testify, was greater than the wisdom of Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Calcol, and Darda, and the 3 sons of Mahol. This means that he was wiser than Abraham, Moses, Joseph, and the generation of the desert. He excelled even Adam. His proverbs, which have come down to us, are barely 800 in number. Nevertheless, the scripture counts them equal to 3,000, for the reason that each verse in his book admits of a double and a triple interpretation. In his wisdom, he analyzed the laws revealed to Moses, and he assigned reasons for the ritual and ceremonial ordinances of the Torah, which without his explanation had seemed strange. The 49 gates of wisdom were open to Solomon as they had been to Moses, but the wise king sought to outdo even the wise legislator. May Yahuwah open those 49 gates of wisdom to us, right? I'm ready for it. Maybe I'm not, but I really want to be. Okay, look, let me read that again. The 49 gates of wisdom were open to Solomon as they had been to Moses, but the wise king sought to outdo even the wise legislator. He had such confidence in himself that he would have dispensed judgment without resort to witnesses had he not been prevented by a heavenly voice. The first proof of his wisdom was given in his verdict in the case of the child's claim by 2 mothers as their own. The women presented their difficulty. The king said that Yahuwah in his wisdom had foreseen that such a quarrel would arise, and therefore had created the organs of man in pairs, so that neither of the 2 parties to the dispute might be wrong. On hearing these words from the king, Solomon's counselors lamented, "Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is but a youth." In a little while they realized the wisdom of the king, and then they exclaimed, "Happy art thou, O land, that thy king is a free man." The quarrel had of set purpose been brought on by Yahuwah to the end that Solomon's wisdom might be made known. In reality, the 2 litigants were not women at all, but spirits. that all doubt about the fairness of the verdict might be dispelled, a heavenly voice proclaimed, "This is the mother of the child." During the lifetime of David, when Solomon was still a lad, he had settled another difficult case in an equally brilliant way. A wealthy man had sent his son on a protracted business trip to Africa. On his return, he found that his father had died in the meantime, and his treasures had passed into the possessions of a crafty slave who had succeeded in ridding himself of all the other slaves or intimidating them. In vain, the rightful heir urged his claim before King David. As he could not bring witnesses to testify him, there was no way of dispossessing the slave, who likewise called himself the son of the deceased. The child Solomon heard the case, and he devised a method of arriving at the truth. He had the father's corpse exhumed, and he dyed one of the bones with the blood first of one of the claimants and then the other. The blood of the slave showed no affinity with the bone, while the blood of the true heir permeated it. So the real son secured his inheritance. Can you say DNA test? That's what Solomon did. He did a DNA test. I know it's a little bit different today, but essentially that's what he did, right? After his accession to the throne, a peculiar quarrel among heirs was brought before Solomon for adjudication. Asmodeus, the king of the demons, once said to Solomon, "Thou art the wisest of men, yet I shall show thee something thou hast never seen." Thereupon Asmodeus stuck his finger into the ground, and up came a double-headed man. He was one of the Canaanites who live underground and are altogether different in nature and habit from the denizens of the upper world. So we read about them all the way in the beginning when we was reading about the tohu and the bohu and the 7 levels of earth and the 7 levels of heaven. We heard about them, and it told us that the Canaanites live on the 6th level. That's why when Asmodeus reached down into the ground, he could just grab one of them up. Like, how far did you have to reach your hand down to go to the next level of earth to bring this double-headed man up, right? So bear with me. I'm going to just keep reading. He was one of the Canaanites who lived underground and are altogether different in nature and habit from the denizens of the upper world. When the Canaanite wanted to descend to his dwelling place again, it appeared that he could not return thither. Not even Asmodeus could bring the thing about. Like, look, so you just done pulled a double-headed man up here to the 7th earth and you can't get him back. So he remained on the earth and took unto himself a wife and begat 7 sons, one of whom resembled his father, having 2 heads. Now, do we think that this is all far-fetched? I don't. Why? Because there's some people walk around here with double heads, conjoined twins, my G. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. All right, listen. When look, and I've seen some, not like now you've seen all kind of variations, right? It's you who allows it, right? Okay, so but I've seen one with one body. Like, there's a few of them. Like, and I think a few of them are still alive today. Matter of fact, some videos a few months ago when we were reading that, I brought it up again and I shared a lot of little videos about some of them, right? Now here, look. Here's something that's crazy. Maybe it's not crazy. Maybe, I don't know how to say this without sounding horrible. But I wonder about it, right? And okay, there's just no way to say this without sounding crazy, right? Like, so a couple of them have gotten married to people, the normal people, right? But I'm just like, what kind of sick, perverted mind do you have to marry. There's no way to say this the way it's not gonna sound horrible, right? Because I wonder about this stuff. Like, what's in your mind when you marry somebody with two heads? Like, because the first thing I think about, like, what is the intimacy like? Is this considered adultery? Like, is this considered? I don't know, but I'm like, the person has to be sick in their head. I don't know. Like, I'm just being honest with y'all. But seriously, once I started reading this, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is who they was talking about. We just have different terms for them. They call them monsters, right? Because the Bible talks about how, like I said, there's no way to say this without sounding horrible, y'all. But I'm just using what the Bible says, and it says monsters will be born to women in certain days, and I'm just like, sheesh. I mean, but we can't say that now because that's politically incorrect, and it just sounds horrible, and it just sounds like we're a horrible person if we say it that way. But it's just, when I read some of this stuff, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound far-fetched, because we still have people that are born that way walking around here today. So he, Asmodeus, brought this double-headed man up from the sixth earth and wasn't able to put him back down there, right? So he stayed up here, and he married a woman, a regular woman, one-headed woman. Like, sis, what was you thinking about to marry a double-headed man? I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe she was made to. I don't know. But she had no. Let me just keep reading. So he remained on the earth, took unto himself a wife, and begot 7 sons, one of whom resembled his father in having 2 heads, right? So I sit and think, I'm like, well, maybe this is where all this sprang from, all the way back to this dude right here who couldn't get back to the 6th earth. I know that kind of sounds crazy, like, what? But just bear with me when I'm going through the story, you know. So, and I'm like, what if they all descend from him, right? It doesn't seem far-fetched to me. It really doesn't. But, you know, some people just like, yeah, I don't know about that. But, yeah, you can't explain some of the other stuff either. Like the unseen realm that be attacking you, right? Okay, so it's not far-fetched, I'm telling y'all. Okay, so he remained on earth, took unto himself a wife, and begot 7 sons, one of whom resembled his father in having 2 heads. When the Canaanite died, a dispute broke out among his descendants as to how the property was to be divided. The double-headed son claimed 2 portions. Both Solomon and the Sanhedrin were at a loss. Look. Did he get 2 portions if he got 2 heads? Both Solomon and the Sanhedrin were at a loss. They could not discover a precedent to guide them. And then Solomon prayed to Yahuwah, O Lord of all, when thou didst appear unto me at Gibeon, and didst give me leave to ask a gift of thee, I desired neither silver nor gold, but only wisdom, that I might be able to judge men in justice. Yahuwah heard his prayer. When the son of the Canaanite came again before Solomon, this is terrible. I guess this is the only way to figure it out. When the sons of the Canaanite came before Solomon, he poured hot water on one of the heads of the double-headed monster. Let's see, they called him a monster. But it was the son, but they call him a monster. So y'all get it. I ain't trying to be horrible, y'all. I'm really not. Josiah, shalom. When the sons of the Canaanite again came before Solomon, he poured hot water on one of the heads of the double-headed monster, whereupon both heads flinched and both mouths cried out, "We are dying, we are dying. We are but one, not 2. Solomon decided that the double-headed son was, after all, only a single being. On another occasion, Solomon invented a lawsuit in order to elicit the truth in an involved case. 3 men appeared before him, each of whom accused the others of theft. They had been traveling together, and when the Sabbath approached, they halted and prepared to rest and sought a safe hiding place for their money, for it is not allowed to carry money on one's person on the Sabbath. They all 3 together secreted what they had in the same spot, and when the Sabbath was over, They hastened thitherly only to find that it had been stolen. First of all, my G, I ain't putting my money in a pot with your money. I'm going to dig me another hole somewhere, and ain't none of y'all going to... Come on, that was trouble waiting to happen, right? Because some Regins is not honest. They all three together secreted what they had in the same spot, and when the Sabbath was over, they hastened thither, only to find that it had been stolen. It was clear that one of the three men must have been the thief, but which one? Solomon said to them, I know you to be experienced and a thorough businessman. I know you to be experienced and thorough businessmen. I should like to help you. I should like you to help me decide a suit which the king of Rome has submitted to me. In the Roman kingdom there lived a maiden of a youth. Okay, so the three men came and brought this case before Solomon because they know one among themselves must be the thief, right? So Solomon, in his wisdom, he said, okay, I know all you three, you're very good, you have business acumen. I need y'all three to help me decide a case. But the whole point of doing this was to see if they were scoundrels in the mind, if they were deceitful businessmen, or if they were wise businessmen. And this would tell him who the thief between the three were, right? You got a white-collar crime going on right now, right? So you got to deal with them a little bit better because they thinking up here. You got to learn how to circumvent that thinking, right? Look. Solomon said to them, I know you to be experienced and thorough businessmen. I should like you to help me decide a suit which the king of Rome has submitted to me. In the Roman kingdom there lived a maiden and a youth who promised each other under oath never to enter into a marriage without obtaining the other's permission. The parents of the girl betrothed their daughter to a man whom she loved. The parents of the girl betrothed their daughter to a man whom she loved, but refused to become his wife until the companion of her youth gave his consent. She took much gold and silver and sought him out to bribe him. Setting aside his own love for the girl, he offered her love and her lover his congratulations, and he refused to accept the slightest return for the permission granted. On their homeward way, the happy couple were surprised by an old highwayman who was about to rob the young man of his bride and his money. The girl told the brigade the story of her life, closing with these words: If a youth control his passion for me, how much more should thou, an old man, be filled with fear of Yahuwah and let me go my way? Her words took effect. The aged highwayman laid his hands neither on the girl nor on the money. Now, Solomon continued to the three litigants, I was asked to decide which of the three persons concerned acted most nobly, the girl, the youth, or the highwayman, and I should likewise to have your views upon the question. The first of the three said, My praise is for the girl who kept her oath so faithfully. The second, I should award the palm to the youth who kept himself in check and did not permit his passion to prevail. The third said, Commend me to the brigand who kept his hands off the money, more especially as he wouldn't have been doing all that could be expected of him if he had surrendered the woman. He might have taken the money. The last answer sufficed to put Solomon on the right track. The man who was inspired with admiration of the virtues of the robber probably was himself filled with greed of money. He had him cross-examined and finally extorted a confession. He had committed the theft, and he designated the spot where he had hidden the money. Even animals submitted their controversies to Solomon's wise judgment. A man with a jug of milk came upon a serpent wailing pitifully in a field. To the man's question, the serpent replied that it was tortured with thirst, and that thou art carrying. And what art thou carrying in the jug? Asked the serpent. When it heard what it was, it begged for the milk and promised to reward the man by showing him a hidden treasure. The man gave the milk to the serpent, and was then led to a great rock. Under this rock, said the serpent, lies the treasure. The man rolled the rock aside and was about to take the treasure when suddenly the serpent made a lunge at him and coiled itself about his neck. What meanest thou by such conduct? Exclaimed the man. I am going to kill thee, replied the serpent, because thou art robbing me of all my money. Like, you a snake. What need have you of money? The man proposed that they should put their case to King Solomon and obtain his decision as to who was in the wrong. So they did. Solomon asked the serpent to state what it demanded of the man. I want to kill him, answered the serpent, because the scriptures commanded, saying, Thou shalt bruise the heel of man. Solomon said, First release thy hold upon the man's neck and descend. In court, neither party to a lawsuit may enjoy an advantage over the other. The serpent glided to the floor, and Solomon repeated his question and received the same answer as before from the serpent. Then Solomon turned to the man and said, To thee, God's command was to bruise the head of the serpent. Do it. And the man crushed the serpent's head. Sometimes Solomon's assertions and views, though they sprang from profound wisdom, seem strange to the common run of men. In such cases, the wise king did not disdain to illustrate the correctness of his opinions. For instance, both the learned and the ignorant were stung into opposition by Solomon, saying, One man among 1,000 have I found, but a virtuous woman among all those have I not found. Solomon unhesitantly pledged himself to prove that he was right. Ain't that something? He said, listen, I can find perhaps this is where they get to calling people that trick other snakes. Possibly, Trina. Look, so what he just said was he can find a virtuous man, but he cannot find a virtuous woman. Remember, look, listen, let me read this again. And look, I ain't going to say that is all, look, King Solomon is right, but I'm just saying, sometimes it's really hard to find a virtuous woman, right? Because a lot of women don't have themselves under control. And even sometimes when they do have themselves under control, you just piss them off on the right day with the right thing. They can think of something so vicious and be so nice when implementing their method of destruction and wreak havoc that you won't know if you coming or if you going, right? I mean, you be like, what in the world just happened to me? So I get what King Solomon is saying, right? Look, let me read this again. And you listen to this. Look, sometimes Solomon's assertions and views, though they sprang from profound wisdom, seem strange to the common run of men. In such cases, the king did not disdain to illustrate the correctness of his opinions. For instance, both the learned and the ignorant were stung into opposition by Solomon, saying, One man among 1,000 have I found, but a virtuous woman among all those have I not found. Solomon unhesitantly pledged himself to prove that he was right. He had his attendants seek out... wait. Maybe I might wait to share this story. Okay. It was actually... I gotta share it. Hold on. Let me read this, and then I'm gonna tell you. And it's something that I did. When I think about it, I laugh. But every time I think about it, although I'm laughing, I'm like, Father, forgive me, because that was real devious of me. Look, I'm gonna share it with you. And me and my husband talk about it now. We laugh about it, but I'm gonna share it with you. Hold on. Let me read this so you get the gist. Right? I'm gonna share this story. Okay. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a virtuous woman among all those have I not found. Solomon unhesitantly pledged himself to prove that he was right. He had his attendants seek out a married couple enjoying a reputation for uprightness and virtue. The husband was cited before him, and Solomon told him that he had decided to appoint him to an exalted office. The king demanded only, as an earnest of his loyalty, that he murder his wife, so that he might be free to marry the king's daughter, a spouse comporting with the dignity of his new station. So he said, look, okay, I need you to murder your wife, and then we gonna give you the daughter of the king. You know, it's gonna raise your nobility, and you can become all that, my G. Right? All you gotta do is murder your wife. She po anyway. You don't need her. Look, this is what he said, right? The king's demand only, as an earnest of his loyalty, was that he murder his wife, so that he might be free to marry the king's daughter, a spouse comporting with the dignity of his new station. With a heavy heart, the man went home. His despair grew at the sight of his fair wife and his little children. Though determined to do the king's bidding, he still lacked the courage to kill his wife while she was awake. He waited until she was tight asleep. Until she was tight asleep. But then the child, enfolded in the mother's arms, rekindled his parental, and his conjugal affection, and he replaced his sword in its sheath, saying unto himself, and if the king were to offer me his whole realm, I would not murder my wife. Oof. Thereupon he went to Solomon and told him his final decision. A month later, Solomon sent for this same man who said, I cannot murder my wife. No, even if you would offer me your whole kingdom, I couldn't take it. I can't murder my wife, right? Look. Thereupon he went to Solomon and told him his final decision. A month later, Solomon sent for the wife and declared his love for her. He told her that their happiness could be consummated if she would but do away with her husband. Then she would be made the first wife of his harem. I mean, not the only, but just the first of the harem. A harem is full of women, right? But you can be the first. Solomon gave her a laden sword, which glittered as though fashioned of steel. The woman returned home, resolved to put the sword to its appointed use. Not a quiver of her eyelids betrayed her sinister purpose. On the contrary, by her caresses and tender words, she sought to disarm any suspicion that might attack to her. In the night she arose, drew forth the sword, and proceeded to kill her husband. The laden instrument naturally did no harm except to awaken her husband, to whom she had to confess her evil intent. Lisha said, wait, who about to do that? She crazy as crap. Look, this happened and went home with the sword King Solomon gave her. And she like, oh, this Regent died tonight. I'm going to be the first of King Solomon's harem, right? The wife of this same man that could not bring himself to kill his wife. They already had children too, right? Look, she said, all right, give me that sword, King. She went home determined to do what she was going to do, right? Went there. Look, and her loving, it says her loving. Think about women. When they're trying to butter up men, hopefully men, you've never been in this position. Sis was about to take hubby out, Trina, right? Look. You know how women do, right? Women can be very manipulative. Then she got caught. They can be very manipulative, and they know how to butter their men up. Go ahead and get you something to eat. Make sure you get a real good meal. Massaging them, doing whatever they need to do to put him at ease, right? Women know that they can use those things to get what they want, and the men will be very unsuspecting, right? And they just think, oh, she loved me so much. While she plotting on him, knowing that those things disarm men, right? I'm just like, oh, gosh. Look, hold on, look. On the contrary, by caresses and tender words, she sought to disarm any suspicion that might probably attach to her. Okay. On the contrary, by caresses and tender words, she sought to disarm any suspicion that might attach to her. In the night she arose, drew forth the sword, and proceeded to kill her husband. The laden instrument now. Good morning, Trish.
Hey, Pam, how are you?
I'm pretty good, and you?
Fine, thanks. I just wanted to touch base with you. So far, I haven't had any luck on finding anybody that wants to work the nights.
Okay.
Honestly, I haven't hardly had anybody come in this week at all, frankly, to work even during the day. It's just been, I think a lot of people got some stimulus money and keeping people from coming in. So
right. I got
that's
you.
my battle, stimulus and unemployment.
Right. Yeah. Man, I'm sorry,
I can certainly keep working on it, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to have the manpower that you're going to need at this point. But I'll keep you informed as the week progresses next week. If I get an influx of people for some reason, I'll reach out to you. I just don't want you to plan on it and then I'll leave you hanging.
Gotcha. Okay, I appreciate it, Trish. Okay, so I'm going to start reaching out to other places to see if I can get some manpower for this job.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I hate it because everybody normally loves working with you guys. It's just, I don't have the people coming in.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, well, that's good to know they like us.
Yep, but if things change, I'll check with you just to see what your status is.
Okay, thanks, Trish.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry. I had to take that call. Because we got this job coming up, and we need to get some extra manpower. So she's one of the few people we like to work with because they always been good. But like she said, look, people get their stimulus check. Don't nobody want to come to work, right? They don't want to come to work till their stimulus run out or their unemployment run out. But I get it. I understand. Okay. So let me go back to this. Am I still? Okay, I'm still. All right, y'all. Look. The laden instrument naturally did no harm except to awaken her husband, to whom she had to confess her evil intent. The next day, both man and wife were summoned before the king, who thus convinced his counselors of the truth of his conviction that no dependence can be placed on a woman. Right? That's horrible to say, ain't it? Look, okay. So hopefully that's not the case with you. And if you got some hang-ups about yourself, just pull yourself together. Ask your who to help you, women. But listen, let me share this before I go to this little next thing, right? Okay, now wasn't nothing big, right? Look, okay, so, shucks, how long this has been? Because I think we was at, this has been, we didn't even have all the kids we had. We had, I think we just had we had Elijah, Jeremiah, and Joshua, right? So the other three had not been born. Okay. So his cousin, my husband's cousin, every year they go to this the NBA thing in Atlanta, right? What is it? All-Star Weekend, right? So every year they're going, them and a bunch of their male friends and stuff, they get together and they go to All-Star Weekend. And James, he had been a couple times with him or whatever. But this particular year, I'm like, no, maybe you shouldn't go. So, but we had talked about it. He was like, no, I ain't gonna go. I'm like, all right, cool. And so, and I think we was a little bit tight on money too, right? So, but he was like, you know what? And it was kind of a rough time. He had got pissed with me. I had got pissed with him. But no matter how much we pissed at each other, we trust each other to handle business, right? Because we're going to get over ourselves and we're just going to keep moving, right? Okay. So, but I had already resolved and said, no, I don't want you to go. But he decided, I don't care what you think, I'm going to hang out with my cousin. Not that I have a problem with him hanging out with his cousin, right? So he was like, look, I need you to order me a rental car, right? So I'm like, Look, when they go, you know how guys get, they hang out, they get all dressed up and they like to show out, especially you going to Atlanta, right? You going to HOTLANTA. So I'm just like, oh, you think you about to go to HOTLANTA without me and show off and stunt? And he wanted me to order him a Mustang, right? So I always get them what you want. They always got it. They never run out, right? So I'm like, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, babe, I got you. I'm going to order you a rental car. I went in and I put in the order for the rental car. And when I ordered it, I said yes. First I was gonna get him a minivan. But I was like, no, I ain't gonna get him the minivan. Because he gonna really wild out about that, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use our business card and I'm going to order this because we was going to use a business card anyway because we was going to write it off as a business expense. Okay, you just got to do this while you there. And, you know, we can count it off as business expense, right? Make sure you talk to you guys about this. Keep receipts of where y'all go to eat and bring them back to me, right? So I gave him the whole rundown what he needed to do so we could write it off as a business expense, right? So I called the rental company and I said, yes, I want to order a rental car. My husband is flying in here. He needs to pick up one. And so she said, okay, well, what car? I said, do you have any tourists in? I said, he wants to be safe while he's driving. I said, oh, she said, yes, we have a lot of tourists. Y'all know what tourists look like, right? They look, and I knew he absolutely hated tourists, right? He said they have got to be the ugliest cars that they have ever designed on the face of the earth. Now, if you like tourists, you can like what you like, but listen. So, and I was in my early 30s too, definitely. We had only had Joshua. Josh is 10 now, so that was 10 years ago. I'm about to be 42. I was 32, right? You ain't about to go to HOTLANTA without me. Okay, plus Joshua was a baby too. Look, Dana, let me tell you what I did. Look, Dana said you dead wrong. So she said, okay, yep, we got multiple tourists in. I said, yeah, you got like a gray color? I said, oh, gray, I need a gray Taurus, right? Because he want a red Mustang. You got a gray Taurus, give me a gray Taurus. Yep, she said, well, we got like this. It's almost like this powder blue. Yes, that's perfect. That's close to gray. Give me that. She said, okay, got you. And I said, listen. I said, can you put a note? I said, is it possible to deny all changes and upgrades? She said, yes, it is. I said, because I'm the owner of this company. I'm the owner of this company, and I make all the decisions on this, and we don't want to do any upgrades for this business trip. We need to keep we need to keep all the expenses in order. She said, not a problem. I put it on account, no upgrades, right? So I was like, okay, of course I didn't tell him what I did. No, I wanted to see him flip out when he got to HOTLANTA without me, because he got to ride around in a powder blue Taurus, right? Look, no, not even a red Taurus, no changes. Look, no changes, right? So I could barely keep my composure when I was giving him a hug and kiss and drop him off at the airport, right? I could barely contain myself. But once he got in and I was driving away, I was hollering, screaming, laughing. I was also a little bit convicted, right? I was a little bit convicted. I'm like, Father, I know it's wrong. I know. I'm sorry. I said, but he done pissed me off right good this time. I said, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. Look, James got to Atlanta. Imagine, he was one of the last ones to get in. And apparently, he had been talking to all the guys. Don't worry about it. I got it. Ain't nobody got to get a rental car. I'm going to get the rental car, right? Because anybody know where we go? Okay, you don't really got to worry about now what else we're going to treat, right? So, and I knew that would be the case. So all you Regins going down here to HOTLANTA, I know you ain't taking your wife, you ain't taking your wife, and you ain't taking your wife. And I know I'm stuck here too. So, I'm going to make sure I'm going to do this for all the wives. All the wives. I'm going to high five them. Yes, sis, they ain't had no fun without us, right? Look, so they got to Atlanta. Everybody, so they sit around the airport waiting. James was the last one to get in. They coordinated their flights and everything. They got there. James got the rental car. Boom, boom, boom. While he was at the counter, he calls me. And I knew he was at the counter. Hey, Pam, look, they said they can't do no upgrades. I said, what? They can't? I was like, wait, what do you mean upgrades? Wow, what? He said they're trying to give me a Taurus. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, can you? I said, well, I mean, when I put it in, I made up some kind of lie. I said, well, I mean, it's locked in. It's already charged. And look, girl, he hyping up the Mustang. They thought they was going to be doing it this weekend, right? So I was like, well, I'm sorry, babe. I don't know, you know. And so I was like, well, shucks, just take it. I can't really do any changes. I don't know what happened, but it so happened. I know what it was. Wait, no, that wasn't it. But anyway, when they put it on the account, they were not changing it. Because I said, no matter what he tried to do to upgrade. I said, do not upgrade this vehicle. Let it stay just like that. So anyway, he was pissed about that, and he was cussing. He said, they got me in this effing Taurus. He said, what we supposed to do this weekend in the effing Taurus? I'm like, babe, listen. If y'all going to the game, why does it matter how you get there? You just need transportation to get around and get there, right? He was like, yeah, but that's besides the point. I don't want to be seen in the Taurus. I was like, who knows you there? Nobody knows you there. I said, get in the car and go to the game, you know. So he was pissed about that the whole weekend. Let me tell you what they did. They went, checked into their hotel. He left that Taurus, parked at the hotel while I think it was Vernon went and got him a rental car, and they all got in and rode with him. I was like, well, that's a plus for me, because I know you ain't gonna be out perusing the town by yourself, riding around in a hot candy red apple Mustang. You be riding around in the Taurus. Matter of fact, it's gonna kill your whole vibe, and you're just gonna go to the room and go to bed early, right? So that's my whole thoughts. You know. Remember we was talking about the women being devious and stuff like that. So that's my truth. I've just confessed my sins before the brethren, right? Look, girl, look, he got back. He was so pissed about this. He still didn't know that I was behind all of it. But just the whole, it's wrong. It's wrong. I'm telling y'all, don't do this. But I was young. I was really young. I was 32 years old. No, I was 31. I'm about to be 30. Yeah. I was 31, 32 years old, right? But it gave me some type of satisfaction to know that you ain't going to be away from here having fun without me, right? But it was completely wrong. But it kind of goes with this story right here when King Solomon said, he said, look, I can find a righteous man, but I cannot find a righteous woman. So I'm not saying that I'm not righteous. I strive to be better. You know, I ain't perfect, but I'm just saying I figure I share all the other kind of stories. I figure I share one that let you know that I done some crazy stuff too, right? You know, but now I would never do anything that has to go as far and kill my husband. Absolutely not. Don't do murder, right? Don't do jail. Don't do none of that stuff. Y'all ain't having me losing my portion in the future world or whatever it is, right? I ain't doing that. That ain't me. I ain't that wicked, evil. Look. I repented. I finally told him. I had to wait till it was like a long afterthought. I didn't even tell him that I was behind that powder blue Taurus till like 2 years later. And he said, what? Look, mind you, he ain't never been back to All-Star Weekend since. So I was like, plus for me, you won't go without me, right? So, but no, I just wanted to share that story. That's what came to when I was reading. Like, oh yeah, right. I remember that. Oh, King Solomon is right. So, but yeah, I just, So, yeah, I finally did tell him. I'm like, babe, I'm sorry. I said, but it was, But, yeah, so. Let's finish reading. The fame. Hold on, let me just read this last one. This last sentence again. The next day, both the man and wife were summoned before the king, who thus convinced his counselors of the truth of his conviction that no dependence can be placed on a woman. Sheesh, right? Maybe who will help us to be better. Look, I couldn't have been that friend on the phone with you. I'd have been like, girl, you ain't wrong. He gonna hold on. He gonna be on HOTLANTA without you stunting. I know, right? Look, how he gonna be in HOTLANTA without you stunting? Right? I know, right? Look, so it didn't happen. So okay. The fame of Solomon's wisdom spread far and wide. Many entered the service of the king in the hope of profiting by his wisdom. 3 brothers had served under him for 13 years, and disappointed at not having learned anything, they made up their minds to quit his service. Solomon gave them the alternative of receiving 100 coins each, or being taught 3 wise laws. Okay, we almost done. Y'all know we had 1 hour and 5 minutes, but I'm gonna finish this little section, and then we're gonna take a break right there. Okay, let me read that again. Solomon gave them the alternative of receiving 100 coins each, or being taught 3 wise laws. They decided to take the money. They had scarcely left the town when the youngest of the 3, regardless of the protests of his two brothers, hastened back to Solomon and said to him, "My lord, I did not take service under thee to make money. I wanted to acquire wisdom. Pray, take back thy money and teach me wisdom instead." Solomon thereupon imparted the three following rules of conduct to him. These are probably, listen, these still good today. Because when I first read this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep these. When thou travelest abroad, set out on thy journey with the dawn and turn in for the night before darkness falls. Do not cross a river that is swollen, and never betray a secret to a woman. King Solomon, he ain't going to let this go, is he? The man quickly overtook his brothers, but he confided nothing to them of what he had learned from Solomon. They journeyed on together. At the approach of the 9th hour, 3 hours after noon, they reached a suitable spot in which to spend the night. The youngest brother, mindful of Solomon's advice, proposed that they stop there. So if y'all going traveling on especially if you're going cross country or going multiple hours, where you going at least 5 or 6 hours, start early in the day, and when it start getting dark, if you need to, get a hotel room, turn in for the night, right? Or if there's a friend there, stop, hang out with them for the night. Look. Look, Alicia said, but he had all them females talking about King Solomon. They probably wouldn't have been so devious if he only had one. No, yeah, they would have been. They would have still been. By nature, right? Like, so women, that's something we got to learn how to bring under our control. Like, it can be a gift in certain places. Like, think about Jael, right? The female who killed the king. Now, you can use your womanly wiles, like if you're in a state of danger or to save, but not if you ain't going all the way where you're actually giving up the booty. But what I'm saying is, your beauty can be a gift, but also a protective measure to protect you in different instances and maybe open the doors for you in certain places that you need to go to execute proper justice, right? There's a balance in all of it. But some women, they take that and they use it just to climb the, you can use it to, hold on, let me make sure I'm wording this right. You should be using your brains to move up in any arena, business-wise, whatever it is. Your beauty would just be icing on top of the cake, right? And every cake should have some icing. I think so, right? Cake is not cake without icing. Unless it was made to be a cake without icing. Y'all get what I'm saying. But your beautiful countenance should just bring a peace and a joy to the place, but that's not the thing that got you in there. Because once you lose that beauty and that charm, or what you got left, if there is nothing left under that, you might as well go to the grave that day. Like, seriously, because even and this is gonna sound horrible, even an ugly woman can pave her way if she has brains and she knows how to use wisdom, right? But don't just let beauty be the only thing you have, right? If you have it, right? Don't let that be the determining factor in all that you do, right? Thank you. It's about what's under the icing. Yes. Think about what's under the icing. Let's learn how to make a proper cake so that even without the icing, it's good to all. Y'all get what I'm saying. Look, okay. They journey on together. At the approach of the 9th hour, 3 hours after noon, they reached a suitable spot in the place to which to spend the night. The youngest brother, mindful of Solomon's advice, proposed that they stop there. The others taunted him with his stupidity, which they said he had begun to display when he carried his money back to Solomon. The two proceeded on their way, but the youngest arranged his quarters for the night. When the darkness came on, and with it nipping cold, he was snug and comfortable, while his brothers were surprised by a snowstorm in which they perished. The following day, he continued his journey, and on the road he found the dead bodies of his brothers. Having appropriated their money, he buried them and went on. I told y'all should have stayed there with me last night, but now y'all dead. And it's my duty as a brother to give you a proper burial. And I'm going to go on ahead because you would want me to have this and you would want me to have this. Look, so when people don't, look, the wise just come back and they picking up all the riches that you left behind, right? The brothers took the money. No, we're going to take the money. He said, King Solomon, they all three, we said, we didn't come to you for money. We came to you for wisdom, right? And he gave his money back, right? But guess what happened? The wisdom allowed him to receive a double portion of the money King Solomon had originally given him, even though he gave his portion back, right? Wisdom will save your life. Having appropriated their money, he buried them and went on. When he reached a river that was very much swollen, he bore Solomon's advice in mind and delayed to cross until the flood subsided. While standing on the bank, he observed how some of the king's servants were attempted to ford the stream with beasts laden with gold, and how they were borne down by the flood. After the waters had abated, he crossed and appropriated the gold strapped to the drowned animals. You see how rich he got just by following those three simple tasks? Even the king's men, they said they trying to push on. Look, and they tell you when it rains and it floods, they said turn around. They said don't drown, turn around. So if you ride through neighborhoods, I see people, cars, they trying to get through this puddle of water that looks shallow, and they end up flooding out their tailpipe, and they getting stuck, vehicles cut off. We rolling around in trucks, so I could go through that, especially if I'm aware of the neighbor, especially our neighborhood. I'm aware of the roads and how deep it is when it floods, so we can keep rolling through in our trucks. But I see a little car, I'm like, don't you try it. You better not try it. And they tried it, and they stop right there in that big, huge puddle of water. I say, you can't roll through here without a truck. But if we know we're not familiar with the area, nope. Don't drown. Turn around, right? I ain't drowning myself, and I ain't drowning my vehicle. Let's go. We're not familiar with this area. We don't know. Don't drown. Turn around. So remember that, y'all. Look, when you're traveling, turn in for the night. If it's at sundown or whenever when it starts to get dark, turn in for the night. Don't keep driving throughout the night, right? Second, if you come across swollen rivers, over flooding banks, turn around. Don't drown, right? Look. While standing on the bank, he observed how some of the king's servants were attempting to ford the stream with beasts laden with gold, and how they were borne down by the flood. After waters had abated, he crossed and appropriated the gold strapped to the drowned animals. When he returned home, wealthy and wise, he told nothing of what he had experienced, even to his wife, who was very curious to find out where her husband had obtained his wealth. Finally, she plied him so closely with questions that Solomon's advice about confiding a secret to a woman was quite forgotten. Once, when his wife was quarreling with him, she cried out, "Not enough that thou didst murder thy brothers, thou desirest to kill me too?" Thereupon he was charged with the murder of their husbands by his two sisters-in-law. He was tried, condemned to death, and escaped the hangman only when he told the king the story of his life, and was recognized as his former retainer. It was with reference to this man's adventures that Solomon said, "Acquire wisdom, for she is better than gold, and much fine gold." Another of his disciples had a similar experience. Annually, a man came from a great distance to pay a visit to the wise king, and when he departed, Solomon was in the habit of bestowing a gift upon him. Once the guest refused the gift and asked the king to teach him the language of the birds and the animals instead. The king was ready to grant his request, but he did not fail to warn him first of the great danger connected with such knowledge. "If thou tellest others a word of what thou hearest from an animal," he said, "thou wilt surely suffer death, and thy destruction is inevitable." Nothing daunted, the visitor persisted in his wish, and the king instructed him in the secret art. Think about Dr. Doolittle. Return home. First of all, they're going to think you're nuts. You talking to animals now, huh? Okay, King Solomon said, "Look, if I teach you how to do this, you can't tell people you know how to do this. People ain't ready for look." Okay. Return home. He overheard the conversation between his ox and his ass. The ass said, Brother, how farest thou with these people? The ox, As thou livest, brother, I pass day and night in hard and painful toil. The ass, I can give thee relief, brother, if thou wilt follow my advice. Thou shalt live in comfort, and thou shalt rid thyself of all hard work. The ox, O brother, may thy heart be inclined toward me to take pity on me and help me. I promise not to depart from thy advice to the right or to the left. The ass, God knows I am speaking to thee in the uprightness of my heart and the purity of my thoughts. My advice to thee is not to eat either straw or fodder this night. When our master notices it, he will suppose that thou art sick. He will put no burdensome work upon thee, and then thou canst take a good rest. That is the way I did today. The ox followed the advice of his companion. He touched none of the food thrown to him. The master, suspecting a ruse on the part of the ass, arose during the night, went to the stable, and watched the ass eat his fill from the manger belonging to the ox. He could not help laughing out loud, which greatly amazed his wife, who, of course, had noticed nothing out of the way. The master evaded her questions. Something ludicrous had just occurred to him, he said by way of explanation. For the sly trick played upon the ox, he determined to punish the ass. He ordered the servant to let the ox rest for the day and make the ass do the work of both the animals. At evening, the ass trudged into the stable, tired and exhausted. The ox greeted him with the words, Brother.
Mom,
Yes.
can you buy these for me?
By what?
Please.
Give me a few minutes and I'll take a look at it, please. I'm almost done. The ox greeted him with these words, Brother, hast thou heard aught of what our heartless master purposes? Yes, the ass replied. I heard them speaking of having thee slaughtered if thou wilt refuse to eat this night too. They want to make sure of thy flesh at least. Scarcely had the ox heard the words of the ass when he threw himself upon his food like a ravenous lion upon his prey. Not a speck did he leave behind, and the master suddenly moved to uproarious laughter. This time his wife insisted upon knowing the cause. In vain she entreated and supplicated. She swore not to live with him any more if he did not tell her why he laughed. The man loved her so devotedly that he was ready to sacrifice. Oh my gosh. My laptop went off, y'all, and I didn't realize it. Hold on. Oh man, I forgot. I know. Look, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me just plug it back in and turn it on. I know Facebook died the other day. I keep forgetting to plug it in. This was on my laptop was unplugged all night. Okay, I know they're like, wait, what? Okay, I'm glad I caught it because I just answered her. Hold on, y'all. Let me bring it back on. We almost done. Hold on. Oh man. Okay. See if it pick up where it left off. Hold on. Is y'all still there? It's still live? Hold on. I think it's still recording. Hold on. I thought I was going to log back in. Shalom, Mom. Can y'all hear me? Y'all still here? YouTube? Okay. It says I'm live. I'm sorry. Hold on. Please wait while we are reconnecting. And it's still recording. Okay. So the time is still moving. Okay. So I think I'm good. Y'all, I'm sorry. My laptop had just died real quick. I needed to plug it in. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Leisha, go back to YouTube. I got it plugged in. It died. My laptop died. I had to plug it in. I forgot to plug it in when I sat down. Go back and see if it's on. The timer says still recording. And it still say 5 people here. Frozen. Okay. Mom said it was frozen. Maybe I should stop it and turn it back on. It says unstable. Okay. Let's do this. Let me just... Am I still frozen, y'all? Okay, let's just... As soon as you hear that, let me just close it out. Let me start it back up. Hold on. Atlanta. Okay, let's snap a picture. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, it's not loading. Okay, I just took it back on live. Okay, go back, Lisa, see if it's on. I'm sorry, y'all. I only got like a little small paragraph left. Okay. It's back. Go back and see if it's on. Okay, somebody just came back in. Sorry, y'all. My laptop died. I didn't plug it in, so I just plugged it in. I'm sorry. Okay, so somebody came back in. It's back on. It's recording. The time is moving. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so let me go back a couple sentences. Okay, good. I think it's good. Okay, I'm gonna go back up here a couple sentences. For the sly trick played upon the ox, he determined to punish the ass. He ordered the servant to let the ox rest for the day and make the ass do the work of both animals. At evening, the ass trudged into the stable, tired and exhausted. The ox greeted him with the words, "Brother, hast thou heard the art of our heartless master's purpose?" "Yes," replied the ass. "I heard them speaking of having thee slaughtered, if thou wilt refuse to eat this night too. They want to make sure of thy flesh at least." Scarcely had the ox heard the words of the ass when he threw himself upon the food like a ravenous lion upon his prey. Not a speck did he leave behind, and the master was suddenly moved to uproarious laughter. This time his wife insisted upon knowing the cause. In vain she entreated and supplicated, and she swore not to live with him any more if he did not tell her why he laughed. The man loved her so devotedly that he was ready to sacrifice his life to satisfy her whim, but before taking leave of this world, he desired to see his friends and relations once more, and he invited them all to his house. Bruh, then King Solomon told you. Okay, we up. Okay, sorry, y'all. It died. I had to plug it in real quick. Okay, so that's why I started this little paragraph over. We're almost done. We'll literally be done in like 3 minutes, but I wanted y'all to hear this. Okay. Remember, King Solomon told him, he said, "Do not, if I teach you how to learn, if I teach you how to hear and understand what the animals are speaking," he said, "you can never betray this secret to anybody else. You cannot tell anybody," right? His wife talked him into it. Look. Meanwhile, his dog was made aware of the master's approaching end, and such sadness took possession of the faithful beast that he touched neither food nor drink. The cock, on the other hand, gaily appropriated the food intended for the dog, and he and his wives enjoyed a banquet. Outraged by such unfeeling behavior, the dog said to the cock, "How great is thy impudence, and how insignificant thy modesty! Thy master is but a step from the grave, and thou eatest and makest merry." The cock's reply was, "Is it my fault if our master is a fool and an idiot? I have 10 wives, and I rule them as I will. Not one dares to oppose me and my commands. Our master has a single wife, and this one he cannot control and manage. What ought our master do?" asked the dog. "Let him take a heavy stick and a bellebore. His hold on. What must our master do?" asked the dog. "Let him take a heavy stick and belabor his wife's back thoroughly," advised the cock. "As I warrant thee, she won't plague him any more to reveal his secrets." The cock said, "Beat her." Think about the color purple. Beat her. Look. Let me go back up here. The cock's reply was, "Is it my fault if our master is a fool and an idiot? I have 10 wives, and I rule them as I will. Not one dares to oppose me and my commands. Our master has a single wife, and this one he cannot control and manage." "What ought our master do?" the dog asked. "Let him take a heavy stick and belabor his wife's back thoroughly," advised the cock, and I warrant thee, she won't plague him any more to reveal his secret. The husband had overheard this conversation too, and the cock's advice seemed good. Oh, Lord have mercy. He about to go beat his wife. Whew. He followed it, and death was averted. Wives, y'all better quit pressing these men. First of all, I do not agree with men beating women and vice versa, because there's some women out here that beat men too, and that's even more disgusting of a thing, right? But I'm just saying, show proper respect to one another. Look, on many occasions, Solomon brought his acumen and wisdom to bear upon foreign rulers who attempted to concoct mischief against him. Solomon needed help in building the temple, and he wrote to Pharaoh, asking him to send artists to Jerusalem. Pharaoh complied with his request, but not honestly. He had his astrologers determine which of his men were destined to die within the year. These candidates for the grave he passed over to Solomon. The Hebrew king was not slow to discover the trick played upon him. He immediately returned the men to Egypt, each provided with his grave clothes, and wrote to Pharaoh, I suppose thou hast no shrouds for these people. Herewith I send thee men and what they were in need of. He said, these men ain't good for nothing but the dirt. Send them all back in grave clothes. Give them a good change for their death. Send them all back in their grave clothes. And that's what he said to Pharaoh. I suppose that thou hast no shrouds for these people. Herewith I send thee the men and what they were in need of. And what they were in need of was grave clothes. Hiram, king of Tyre, the steadfast friend of the dynasty of David, who had done Solomon such valuable services in connection with the building of the temple, was desirous of testing his wisdom. He was in the habit of sending catch questions and riddles to Solomon with the request that he solve them and help him out of his embarrassment about them. Solomon, of course, succeeded in answering all of them. Later on, he made an agreement with Hiram that they were to exchange conundrums and riddles, and that a money fine was to be exacted from the one of them who failed to find the proper answer to a question propounded by the other. Naturally, it was Hiram who was always the loser. The Tyrians maintained that finally Solomon found more than his match in one of Hiram's subjects, one Abdamon, who put many a riddle to Solomon to baffle his wit. Of Solomon's subtlety in riddle guessing, only a few instances have come down to us, all of them connected with riddles put to him by the Queen of Sheba. The story of this queen, of her relation to Solomon, and of what induced her to leave her distant home and journey to the court at Jerusalem, forms an interesting chapter in the eventful life of the wise king. And tomorrow we will pick up with the Queen of Sheba, y'all. So look, if this was Saturday, like if this was already tomorrow, I will go through here and read this. So we're gonna read about the Queen of Sheba tomorrow and Solomon, the master of demons. As we read through some of this, if you guys have been, if you are kind of familiar with the Freemasons, and some of this stuff may sound familiar, but to others it may sound brand new. But nothing is new under the sun, y'all. I'm telling you. Okay, so that was that. Before we stop, page 427. Okay. All right, y'all. So it is Friday, March 19th, 2021, day 106 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 775. Guys, we read 1 Samuel chapters 1, 2, and 3, and Legends of the Jews, page 423 to page 427. Again, y'all, I apologize about the video cutting off. I forgot to plug it back in. All right. So hopefully you didn't miss anything, because I went back to, I believe, where the screen may have went dark. So, because when Bella came in here, I didn't see the screen was black. So, it may have just clicked off. I think I had been reading that one little paragraph. Okay, so let's go to the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the Nazarite vow is the first 21 verses. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that's it. I know there are no questions. Tyler, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all, so we out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I stand my post. Remember, tomorrow gonna be lit. We're about the Queen of Sheba and Solomon, the master of the demons. Right, okay. All right, y'all, so that's it. I'm out of here. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.